We have an unidentified flying object.
I'm Jack Oswald, and you're listening.
This is Hudson Hammond, and you're listening to...
I'm Richard C. Hoagland, and you're listening to...
I'm Art Bell, and you're listening to Dr. J Radio Live.
We have an unidentified flying object.
Welcome back to another great episode of Dr. J Radio Live. I'm your host, Dr. J, broadcasting from the City of Angels or City of Demons, depending on who you ask. And of course, that we are internationally syndicated, starting with our home base, Late Night in the Midlands, as well as the terrestrial affiliates. Also, one of our affiliates in the United States as well is Black Swamp Digital Radio. And of course, in the United Kingdom, we have Deprogrammed Radio Network, as well as their terrestrial affiliates in London and Leeds, as well as other places. So, as I've been promoting, folks, this guest today is someone for months I've been talking to, and for reasons I think somebody or some force or some sinister entity or all of the above was really keeping him from coming on, because me and him really clicked as far as understanding what the hell's going on this planet. And the information he holds is of such vital importance, I felt the need for him to be able to come on and have a full 2-hour show to talk about it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the time has finally arrived. He is also the founder of the Academy of Remote Viewing and Remote Influencing, which long before I had a chance to talk to him, I bought that course back when it was on CDs only. And I must say I've had some great success with it. So without further ado, let's bring on the man of the hour, or 2 hours, should I say, Mr. Gerald O'Donnell, all the way from Florida. Mr. O'Donnell, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, and hello to yourself and to the whole team and to everybody across the globe.
That's right, because we are in an international show, and a lot of people from other countries appear all the time. Now, let's actually, because I just introduced you as the founder of the Academy of Remote Influencing, and as I was telling you before, this is something I bought probably 10 or so years ago when UFO magazine was still there. And of course, it's changed now. It's online, which makes it easier. Let's talk about what caused you to find the Academy, because clearly through when I was going through it, and of course people who weren't familiar with it might as well know about this. As I went through the course each time, I noticed that you were able to tap into the source. You were able to tap and get knowledge and information when you were in that state, that heightened state. That's what you were teaching people. So I guess that's a broad question or multiple parts of the question, but what would you tell people is ARVARI?
Okay, so we started our teachings basically on the internet at that point in 1997. The remote viewing had been officially declassified by the CIA a couple of years before, and there were only 6 websites that were teaching that, and we were one of them. But our focus from the beginning was not so much in teaching remote viewing in the way they used to be teaching it, so that you can then look into different areas of spy, even though that's part of the course. But it turned very fast into, that's why we called it from the beginning into probable future, so that you increase your intuition of all the probabilities that you're faced with, and then learn how to intuit which door to push in so that you travel a path that's more amenable to you, having positive experiences and negative experiences.
Yeah, and that's a very important thing to talk about, and that was one of the reasons why I wanted you on the show, is to wake people up. There's so much cognitive dissonance, and that is what's causing these people to have these negative experiences. I don't think they understand that these negative experiences are coming from these negative forces on purpose.
Yeah, but of course they're coming from purpose. The moment light was created, shadow, as its opposite, had to exist. So with the projection of the divinity into light, its shadow self had to manifest itself. And at first they were cooperating, having different areas of the mind of the godliness to operate with. And before you knew it, they started having competition, and then there was opposition. And when you got to a level of opposition, there was a level of rebellion happening. So
now, go on with that. Talking about the rebellion that happened from the opposition.
Well, that's, there is no time in creation. We think of creation in terms of time and in terms of space. We are inside a what I call a godly supercomputer created so that we have experiences as extensions of the godliness. Because each and every one of us who is aware, who is conscious, not necessarily everybody is, but everyone that's conscious is inside this godly supercomputer that is very creative in giving us the illusion of separation. So that I will think that I'm separated from you, and my thoughts, even though the whole universe is a universe of only thought, will not communicate to you, at least directly, and we will go through what we think is the interface of air, or the interface of space. So, go ahead.
I was going to say, when you mentioned that time is a man-made concept. And what I've come to understand, Gerald, is that actually for people who talk about, say, the Big Bang, the formation of the universe, well, from what I'm starting to understand is that there is no time. There never was a beginning. There'll never be an end. These big bangs are always happening all the time, and always have been and always will be.
Right. The creation is created all the time, and the creations are terminated all the time. The creator itself is eternity because it's pure thought. We live inside thought. We are all thought ourselves. Everything that you see around that we call consciousness or awareness is but thought, being aware of something that it reflects back to itself, and then acting upon it or thinking about it. So the creator is eternity itself. You can't define eternity within time.
No, you can't.
The only reality for eternity is the present.
That's right.
Doesn't matter what section of a story, because it is all stories that we're experiencing, what section of the story it is experiencing through us and through itself as the higher self of us. So
now,
the word time really it means timey. You're tying yourself through a perception.
Now, I'm glad you mentioned again that, because this is what I've always believed in. Now, let's talk about the idea of thought and how thought can control us, and how thoughts right now are being controlled. There's so much going around in the world, and not very many people understand it or are awake enough to understand it. You are one of those people that I always look forward to talking with, whether it be on this show or just to catch up, because you are awake. And I get your newsletter, which you're always reminding us of very important topics that most people don't seem to talk about. The one being the fact that we are essentially living in a matrix. Remember, we were talking about the dark city.
But what is the matrix? People say the matrix. What is the matrix? The matrix is a thought, unvibratory thought supercomputer that was created by the one in order for the one to be able to experience himself or itself at that point as being many, because the one is only one. And creating universes within its mind without a structure, without a scaffolding, would make those universes usually collapse. Now, there are levels of the one that don't have a supercomputer that's creating the way by which this one is, but they are usually of a much higher level. This is the most experimental type of creation that the one has ever created. Because you have the idea of history, you have the idea of the continuum of time, which doesn't exist. These are just stories. It gives you the stories. You can experience parts of a history, a tranche of history, when the one decides to project itself into a particular story, let's say the 19th century, it can experience the 19th century. It can watch it from afar within the machine, but it doesn't mean that it's being experienced at that point. So what the one did at the beginning was creating all the probable paths,
Yes.
all the possibilities, and there were billions and trillions of them. And then he started traveling in thought all those paths by itself to see which one would lead to a continuum of experience and relearning for him and all the possibilities. It's like if you create a video game and you create all the possibilities within the video game, there might be like thousands of them, and then you travel them, and then you allow other people to play, but they're not aware. You are aware of all the paths, but they're not. And you are giving yourself the ability to change the path online if you feel that you need to change the path and adjust them.
And again, this would actually go down to the name of your website, Probable Future, right?
Correct. That is why we spoke about probable future. And that's why even quantum physics right now, when they discuss, the collapse of a wave function, or what they call the crystallization of reality, they talk about probabilities, because they really are probabilities. The world is, if you want, is a mathematical world. And the rules are mathematical rules. They're not necessarily the same type of mathematics we use here, but they are mathematical rules.
Yes, yes. And I think a lot of people are denying them or not paying attention. So why do you think that's happening?
Because science has become a religion, and a lot of people are bowing down to their local actual priest right now. It's just, science is just, there are different elements in science, but there are some elements in science that are only worthy and worthwhile to apply to mechanical motions or motions of so to speak, celestial bodies or certain types of creation, but they are not explaining what's really happening behind the scene. When we introduced the notion of consciousness, which had to be introduced when quantum physics came in, as a matter of fact, it was introduced much before that, when people were doing hypnosis in the 19th century in a very powerful way. But that was set on the side. So when they came in physics and they realized that it's the act of observation that makes the reality exist. Without observation, that reality goes back into the matrix and the codes. Don't forget, at the beginning there were no computers like now, but now they realize that we probably are living inside a computer type of environment, but that's not a computer like a machine type of environment. It's a godly computer.
Now, let's give more about this, because this computer, this godly computer, is a very perfect computer, unlike what we have here. And I'm assuming we can talk about programs within this godly computer. Am I right? That we can program certain things. So let's give an example of what people can program. And for instance, programs that exist that are screwing people up, what can they do to get rid of them?
Okay, in a very global sense, you can change the reality within the computer, more in this computer, within this particular very, very dense, because it is a dense reality, within the short lifespan that we think we have, because in reality there is no death, but within the short lifespan of experience that we have as projections of the one. It's like we are fingers of the one, each entity, well, there are more than 10 fingers in that case. There are billions and billions, but we are one finger. When the experience is over, he removes that finger from the computer, and then you become, your higher self again. But in order for this to exist, he needed to program this in advance and give it rules, not only physical rules like electromagnetic rules and the rules of the universe, but also rules of behavior, rules of biology, rules of sociology, rules of geography, and all kind of stories. Now, remember, when we look at stories, we don't say stories, we say his story.
Yes. And let's go talk about that a little bit more, because there's a meaning, there's a point to this, the fact that literally it's two different things. Like you said, his story, history.
Right. The one is really challenging itself. he wants to save itself from its own creation.
Gotcha.
So the one is creating in advance stories. Some parts could be experienced. Some parts are just within the machine. They're just there. And the machine is extremely. It's an artificial intelligence machine, which is also thought, which we could call the mother. So the mother is creating, first of all, the impression of matter for us, together with what I'm going to call the implicate world, which are vibratory particles that are alive. These are your souls. And she's also creating constantly, different association, different stories, and the one gets involved in that too. So in order for you to be convinced of a certain political system or a certain religious system or a certain sociological system or whatever that is, when a creation starts, and no one will know. As a matter of fact, you could not even prove to me that this creation existed yesterday, because everybody is remembering it. A memory is what will be there, and this is happening at the level of the one. It's stored at the level of the one. So the fact that you remember in a logical way what happened to you since childhood doesn't mean that you were born as a baby.
Yes.
And I'm playing not devil's advocate, but God's advocate here.
Now, so reincarnation. Actually, I'm glad you brought that topic up, because there was just a debate about it recently. As a matter of fact, yesterday. As one point that people make is that you could come back as another human, or, for instance, if you haven't learned the lesson in life you're supposed to learn.
Transfiguration. I know.
Yeah.
You become an animal or a rock. Yeah.
What?
Listen, the problem with humanity is not consciousness. All humans are conscious. The ones that are really alive. The others are still in the matrix. Not all humans. They're conscious within the matrix, but they don't have really free will. Their thoughts are controlled by the matrix, so that they populate the matrix to that point.
Now let's talk about that. I was just going to say, let's go into detail about that. They don't have the free will in the matrix. Their thoughts are not their own. And some people like yourself and I seem to be awake on some level, which is why me and you are able to converse so well. What can the rest of these people do? I mean, that was one of the reasons I told you I do this show anyway, is to wake people up. And that's why I really wanted to have you on, is to see what can be salvaged. But what advice would you give people? I mean, unless it's too early in the show, to tell people and to grind it to them of how to recognize thoughts that are not their own, how for them to finally acknowledge that they don't have the free will they think they do, and how they can wake up.
Okay, because it's not that they're dead. They're not awake in the eyes of the one because they barely make any choices. The matrix is making choices for them. The matrix is the feminine part of the godliness. In the old Bible, they call it Eve. It's a part of Adam who is God in a shadowy form, meaning that the core doesn't need to be totally concentrating on it, but still allows it to exist, because a shadow is never disconnected from its source, and it shows inverted facets. Eve is taken out, and she becomes a helper in front of him in order to challenge Adam to become a better creator, and also in order to produce a world that will give him surprises. Because if Adam as God will be thinking and controlling the minds of all of his creation, he will have no learning. He needs surprises. So he has these brilliant ideas. He said, I'm going to separate myself in thought into two parts. One part will take care of vibrating the biology, vibrating nature, and it will have children within it. And I will attach slowly to a few parts. But when those parts that I attach to communicate and are in contact with other parts directly, especially for a while, they make them alive. Jesus said that 2,000 years ago in the Gospel of Thomas.
Yeah, I mentioned that. That's something that I was not aware until you actually told me, and I believe you were able to find that and
yeah,
read
just a second, I'll find it.
Yeah, I remember that was fascinating.
Well, he said,
and this is one of the ones.
Love your friends like your own soul. Protect them like the pupil of your eyes. Why are you saying that? Because they are. When everything you see around you is you.
Yes.
And your soul is projecting your reality. When you realize that, you realize there is no difference between the inner and the outer. He says when you make the two into one, you make the inner like the outer, and the outer like the inner, and the upper like the lower. And when you make male and female into a single one, so that the male will not be male nor the female be female. When you make eyes, which means two perspective, okay?
Yes.
In place of one eye, which is you, a hand in place of a hand, a foot in place of a foot, an image in place of an image, then you will enter the kingdom, meaning that you're going to become fully God incarnate. You'll have control over creation. Our task is to bring back the kingdom to the king, to rise up back from a world based on fear, because this world was created based on fear.
And it's getting worse. That's what we've been talking about. Why, in your opinion, have you, because you've been doing this for a long time, Gerald. You've been running the Academy of Remote Influencing for quite some time. I've been listening to your other interviews because I get your newsletter. And like I said, you've always been on point and telling people why it's important to literally to wake up. And there's so many dangers of society. For instance, one of the things we've talked about is the disconnection with people with, Facebook and things like that. But the vibrations. Let's before we go deeper into what I was just going to ask you about the different thoughts is the vibrations. So would you say right now that people are vibrating at a lower frequency in general as a whole populace?
Of course. Well, first of all, this whole creation is vibrating on this is the lowest level creation right now on purpose. So there are three levels in this equation for this type of creation until we rejoin the one and the oneness, because at that point we can remain with our individuality. And then we remain in the presence. There's no more sun, no more moon, no more lights outside. The sun is everywhere. You will see light everywhere, permeating through you, outside of you. Disease doesn't exist. Communication is immediate. You know what to do and how to heal yourself and how to progress. If you need information, it's instantly given to you. And if you need to manifest anything, it's instantly given to you. But we're not there yet because we are climbing back up. We're climbing back from the root of increased separation, having total amnesia, remembering who we are, not what we have become, because we know what we have become. You just look around, but remembering who we are, which is but the one. Like that was the only teaching of Jesus. Not trying to create a religion. He said, "The Father and the Son are one." Just get that. There is no two.
No, there isn't, and that's why I'm glad you mentioned that. And so that's one acknowledgement that people need to start making. Now, what you just said a little while ago of us needing to bring the kingdom back to the king, and how Earth right now is really headed for a downfall. Do you think that there is hope to prevent this downfall? Because one topic we'll get to in a little bit are the fires that I'm dealing with here in California. Not as like I was, but now another friend had passed away. Another friend who's also a guest, his home disappeared. So obviously we'll get to that in a moment. But what signs do you see that we are really going downhill as a humanity?
All the signs are there. Within cause and effect, we're multiplying. The Earth is having more people around. We are totally disconnected from the Earth. We are not the steward of the Earth. We're just fracking and exploiting it, and basically destroying it. 40% of the animal species have disappeared in the last couple of years. I mean, the signs all over. I mean, it's not difficult. It's like becoming a total virus or a cancer that metastases in all of its environment in the biology and killing it. The Earth, in perception, has a biology. It's functioning, and it's gifting us life, energy, everything we need. But we have to change our conscience, not our consciousness, our conscious inside, back to love and back to aligning with the unity of the one, because the one is never in fear, never in anger, never in a state of wanting to aggress anybody, because it's him. When he gets angry at a part of himself, it's him. You understand?
Yeah, oh,
It's no one else.
absolutely.
So he doesn't need to be worshipped by that entity, because there is enough of it. Worship is connected to fear, not to love. He cannot connect to the energy of fear, because that's not part of it. He's only connected to love, because he wouldn't have created all this if you were to be within the energy of fear. That's why he created Adam as a shadow. He's pure love. Adam became fear.
So right now, that's essentially what we can blame was essentially causing the fear. But why is it so amplified more so in the last, what we said, 20 years, which has really gotten worse than, say, from the 1950s to 1990?
I received this year, I have my own messages that I just wrote now, two messages in the last week. And I think people should read them. One about Thanksgiving and the one about the great abbess, and he's asking for more blood and so forth, explaining what that force is that's coming up and infiltrating so many entities, and why it's doing so. But nevertheless, there are three messages that came in from the one this year, and they just openly say exactly what you're asking. They're answering this, why has this gone to this level? It was not supposed to go to this level. The one cannot lose parts of itself. It's like it's you. It's like you're walking with your biology. You don't want to lose a foot. You don't lose anything. You want the perfection of yourself. So the one is trying to get back his children back, and from them to looking outside of himself, back to having their back turned to him, and being focused only on material things or machines or whatever they focus right now. They don't have the time nor the inclination anymore to even turn around within themselves, inside, because the one as God or spirit or life energy is inside of them. It's what they carry. They don't have the time to do this, and they've forgotten how to do it. So what they do is, if they have a day off, they go shopping again, or they go watch a movie. He's asking them, please, one day of a week, doesn't matter what day, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, there is no time on that. Just take some time off, take off all the electromagnetic connections, and go within, so that we can establish connection. Because as you establish more connection with me, I become more aware of you. It's a two-way street. That's how consciousness works. If you want to connect to a human being, you have to connect to it, and then that entity will become more connected to you, because you will reflect your concentration. So when you connect to the godliness with an intent of connection, you're going to get it back, and then you get the inspiration, the alignment, the new technologies that are needed. Don't be distracted by this chaotic world. It was known that in the, so to speak, end of one period. This is just the end of one period. This is just the beginning of this creation, really. We haven't even gotten to the real beginning. We're still writing his story. We're not writing our story yet.
Yes, that's right. His story, and exactly. And we're not there yet. And one thing that you mentioned, which is a huge problem, and one thing we've talked about off air, is this huge disconnect that people have with other humans right now. If they're not hiding behind social media accounts or things like that, they're not having that interaction that they need to have, which is basic in humanity. And I think when you mentioned material things that people are sucked into, and another thing that you could also mention too, which we talked about, are things like drugs or alcohol or other things that would affect people's vibrations and the ability to connect to source.
Right. You have everything you need to have to flourish when you're born. People that will tell you that this is a defective DNA that was played with, and this are not coming from the right angle and the right side. They're trying to put into you a sense of of being impotent, of having no powers and no control over your life. And if you fall for this, it becomes and for that suggestion, you will then become like that. You will become a sheep, looking for a leader. Every human being that was born, that is born, and that will ever be born has everything they need for healing and for connection within themselves. They don't need the internet for that. They don't need to go to a certain location or a certain place and be in a group. They certainly don't. As a matter of fact, what they really need, if they want to have a pure connection, is to let go of all they've read, everything they need, and just sit still. A baby is not born with a lot of things, but a baby is totally connected to its creator until the 7th day. It doesn't even know the difference between the inside and the outside. Look at their eyes. For them, all this is an illusion. They're just looking at a mirage, yeah? Until they suddenly, slowly start focusing a little bit more on the outside. And by the time they're 7 years old, the outside has become really real for them. So this is what we need to do, become like children again.
Now, that's a very important statement, because when we were talking last, I was telling you about the importance of children, how when they're born, they could do things flawlessly, effortlessly to be happy.
Absolutely.
They don't need drugs or alcohol. They don't need the smallest things make them happy. And actually, their
joy.
brains, yes, and their brains
faith,
are
imagination, and joy. That's all.
Yes,
These are the three secrets you need. Faith, imagination, and joy. And they have faith. You tell them you can do this, they'll do it. And it's for them, nothing is impossible. And they don't have fear unless adults destroy their innocence, which sadly is happening more and more. And that's the ultimate sin, really.
Now, one thing about children, I've always argued that until they actually start school, their brains are better. But the moment they learn linear thoughts, then it actually slows them down. Would you make a case for that?
Of course, it's a programming. This society, you see, the scaffolding of creation, the scaffolding is right now the lower matrix. There are different levels to the matrix. There are really, I told you that, like 1, 2, and then there is the highest level, which is not even a simulation. Below the highest level, there is a simulation of reality. It's the middle world. And then we are in the lower world, which is another simulation below. If you want to watch the 13th floor, you'll understand what I'm talking about.
Yes.
I'm tired of quoting religious, because I'm not into religion, but even Jesus 2,000 years ago, he said, these heavens will disappear, and then the heavens above will disappear, and then we'll connect to the one. So he's saying this. It's 3 levels. It was known in the old times. So the fact that we go back up is all we need to attain, try to attain, because we are doing the homework for our souls. Our souls want to go back to their source. That's all they need. They're sitting with the total memory of having originated from source and wanting to go back in the presence of source, because that's pure ecstasy, pure peace. There is no antagonism, nothing to worry about. And then they see they're themselves projected into a fear-based world where everything is based on control and power, and then the extension of it, and especially the fear of lack. And they feel that they're wasting their experience.
I have a comment here. I was just going to read it, because this is kind of what we were talking about, and I know we're going to get into later, but this listener is definitely on point. This is Val in the chat. Says, I think big changes are coming because we all know how bad things are globally.
Yeah. Of course, big changes are coming. But I was told many, many years ago when I connected for the first time that the Savior is each one of us. In other words, we have to do the first move. It takes 2 to tango. Yes, I understand. With your higher self and further up, because the higher self has a higher self, and then all this is centered around the one. And the one is also inside the matrix and inside all of creation. In order for me and you to have a separation, the one has to separate us in perception. There is a point of singularity. Otherwise, I would flow into you, you would flow into me. So the one is everywhere. And the one is also in our heart. So we have this possibility of connecting directly. So this event that he's talking about needs to happen. The question is, how much more do we want to remain in such a world, continuing to repeat the past that has been proven unworkable, the exact same systems, on and over again every 50, 60 years, and with consequences that could be by far worse. Now you're going to ask me, why would the one want us to have consequences? Because when we finally get to the higher world, many of us are going to be offered to be literally co-creators of a full universe, because we are the children of God. We're going to be given a creation, and the one doesn't want us to be tempted to have melodramatic scenarios again, or wars, or see what if I misdirect humans into a belief system that could be damaging to them. Are they going to grab it, or are they going to refuse? All this is done here, and it was done here to the extreme, so that we feel the pain. But the problem with humanity lately that I'm aware of is that since the beginning of this century, the memory are getting shorter and shorter because they're all distracted by these little screens, and then they think that they found nirvana in the screen, and that's really serious.
It is. It definitely is, which is people who know me, personally will know that I'm not very technically adept. If it wasn't for the show, there would be no social media accounts. But of course, just for that reason, there are. I seem to have been lucky because my brother's only 2 years younger than me. And even then, he was an adult that got into Facebook late. But I started to see what happened to him. My family would think that he's working, or at the time when he was in school studying, yet he was always on Facebook posting messages, where he's at, pictures. And remember what I told you, an article that I actually emailed you back in 2004. Yeah. Mark Zuckerberg called people dumb Fs for posting private information. And now he has to stand by his statement and actually make up for it. But like you said, people are hiding behind those screens. It's just causing disconnection, and I'm sure adding fear.
No, it's causing us to totally disconnect from ourselves, first of all, and then as we disconnect from ourselves, we disconnect from our loved ones, and we have fake. Everything is fake. I don't call it a Facebook; it's fake book. We have fake relationships. We don't have consciousness to consciousness relationship. We're really connecting to a machine, and the more we connect to a machine, the more we become a like machine. The more we start losing our conscience, because the mind doesn't know the difference between, even though all this is an illusion, but this is a godly illusion for a particular purpose, so that we increase our interconnections from consciousness to consciousness. I have nothing against emails, if you need to send an email, but to spend your whole day watching TV, playing games, and then connecting to people, thinking that they love you because they click saying like. This is a self-serving mechanism for people who have a very low self-esteem, and that it replaces that. That's not what we're here for.
And all these changes have literally happened, you could say, in the last 100 years when our technology boomed. But these changes, since the inception of the internet, I would argue that the last 25 years have been more detrimental than the last 2,000 years.
Absolutely. And it was done on purpose. 1984 was all those books, if you could call them part of our history or part of our lived history, we don't know. But they were written for a purpose, as a warning. It's worse than 1984.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's worse than Brave New World. I mean, they couldn't even imagine something going. We haven't even seen the end of it, but we can turn away. You don't have to spend $1,000 for a stupid phone. You want a phone? Get yourself a phone for $50. That's great. Plus, the technology in it by itself is putting yourself in the vibration of a microwave, and you have a hard time connecting in general or functioning.
And remember, we were even talking about that we haven't had this long enough to know what the long-term effects are. And remember, we were talking about these people giving their children age 2, 4, 6, smartphones. Yeah. It's like, what are they trying to destroy these lives? Babysitters, right. Yes. I remember
that's
you were
telling me. That's the new babysitter, the machine, the robot. But the children are not socialized. They don't know what consciousness to consciousness is socializing. If you don't teach socializing to a child, to a puppy, or to a kitten, they'll never be socializing for the rest of their lives. That has to be done when they're very young, so they appreciate the idea of socializing. They learn the skills. They learn not to hurt other children that are more disadvantaged than they are, and then they learn how to love and to have friends and so forth. They don't have this anymore in a real way right now. They sit down together and then they all take their phone. This is only started since 2011, 2012.
Yes.
This is
yes.
unbelievable. We're just at the beginning of a phenomenon. Let's not even talk about the way they're manipulating the news and manipulating the thought forms and manipulating the religions and manipulating everything that in order for us to be separated and fight with each other. This has given very dark forces and groupings an easy vehicle for very cheap to spread their poison, and they do it.
Let's talk about that for a bit. The propaganda, the manipulation of news, like you said, thought forms, and even the installation of fear, for instance, like these stories of extraterrestrials, instead of wanting to join to some sort of galactic community, that, they're here to harm us, kill us, and things like that, which is something that you talk about in the Academy of Remote Viewing and Influencing.
Yeah. Well, first of all, as I said yesterday in another radio show, there is no alien. Everything is part of the one. And there are not millions, but maybe billions, we don't know, billions of creation. A lot of the creations are having gigantic problems that are collapsing. They're falling apart. So they know that this creation is considered by the one to be its most experimental creation. Therefore, he puts more attention to this creation, because it's the furthest away from his nature. So they come here. And then since we've technically blown holes in the matrix when we exploded nuclear weapons and done other stuff, because they're doing more than that. And I have some articles that are from Mother Nature itself. They're from 2002, I think. Mm-hmm. When she talks about this, there's holes in the fabric of creation. And I was told that the whales and the dolphins are co-creator are trying to patch it using sound, because everything is sound at the level of creation. But they're being chased out because they're using ELF sonars and all kind of things, and they cannot function, or they're getting poisoned by all the garbage we produce and just dump in the ocean freely. So this is a serious problem. Because a lot of entities are coming here who are not part of us, and they want to support, they want a vehicle. Also, since they are less dense than we are, they infiltrate us, and they take over, and then they start, then we have the worst problems that we had perceptually 200 years ago. That wasn't happening.
Let's talk a moment, I think this would be a good time, about stealing of souls. That is, would you think that's happening right now?
The healing?
Stealing.
Yes, when you infiltrate a soul is just a point of light, vibratory light in the implicate world. Mm. It's a baby of the one. That point of light connects to the matrix and gets information. The matrix is only sending information that then it gets decoded by that point of light, called your soul, and then projected as a 3D reality, holographic reality around you that has sensory reality, so that you think things are real. You feel pain, you cannot go through a wall. In reality, the world doesn't really exist. It's inside your mind. There is nothing outside of you. Everything is inside your mind. You're not seeing a continuous universe. You're seeing, as a matter of fact, in a discrete fashion, because reality goes on and off all the time, and we don't realize. You're seeing your bubble reality, but that bubble reality connects to the matrix that gives you the general information as to what you need to see. And when you connect to other people, they have their own bubble reality. So they're seeing that themselves from their perspective, and they move around. It's like you move around with your car, but all there is your car. Then you have a path to follow. So the reality around you is a circular, spherical reality, but that's you. The big jump in consciousness is to realize that the whole reality, not you only with your biology, most people don't even think their biology is them. So when they're sick, they go see doctors and they pump themselves with usually toxic chemicals. They don't realize that they have control over that because it's them. Do you remember in Matrix when Neo goes to the Oracle and this kid is bending a spoon?
Yes.
And Neo is supposedly already has understood the system of creation because he's gone out of the Matrix. Ask him, how do you do this? And the kid says something very deep on purpose. He says, well, if you think the spoon is outside of you, it's impossible. How will my mind bend metal? But if you understand the spoon is inside of you, it's you, then you just bend your mind.
That's right. I remember that line, and I thought that was the most telling one line of that movie that stuck out more to me than anything else.
Can I tell you something about this, which is really interesting?
Absolutely.
When I was very young, when I was maybe 17, 18, I used to dabble in hypnosis, and I was very good at it. And I remember once going to a friend of mine who was a soldier, and I put him into a somnambulistic state, which is considered to be the deepest state in hypnosis, very fast. And then we just, we were young kidding around. So we played around and we made him walk around like as if he'd been, sleepwalking in the middle of the street. He almost got arrested. All kind of things like this, just having fun. And then I brought him back, and I, so to speak, I took him out of the state of hypnosis. When he got into the state of hypnosis, all hypnosis is a connection of his own conscious mind to deeper state of his subconscious. And when you're in a somnambulistic state, you are at the deepest state of your subconscious. In other words, your conscious mind is hyper-focused on your subconscious. So at that level, when you're already touching the collective unconscious, my voice telling him something is as if he's talking to himself. He doesn't see a difference between me and him, because he understands, at that level, he understands that his own bubble reality, which includes me, is him. So when part of the bubble of reality, meaning me, tell him something, I give him a suggestion, he will follow it, because he doesn't feel that it's somebody else. So I told him something really interesting. I said, I'm going to wake you up. You're going to feel great. And then it's as if you slept 8 hours, the regular arousal from hypnosis. And then I gave him a post-hypnotic suggestion. And I said, as you wake up, you will see everybody else. However, your girlfriend, and I give the name, is not here. She just is not here. But she will be here when I say some other word. Until I don't say the word, she...
Just hold on a second. Let's make sure. Gerald, are you still... Okay, there you are. You just got cut out for about 30 seconds, but we're glad we got you back on. We just missed that entire thought that from the last minute when you just came back, other than you saying it.
Where do you want me to... Which one did you miss?
Back up to about a minute. Whatever you just said, where it ended right now, the last word you said, and something not, is that was the only thing that came in. About 30-second block.
Okay, well, when I was describing what happens at his level, or within his own bubble reality, his own bubble reality, at his level, when he's conscious, there is an inside and an outside. There's a separation. He's over 7 years old. He separated the two, the outside world and the inside world. And he's experiencing, so to speak, the world out there. He believes in that. But when he goes into a deep state of hypnosis, which is in reality, it's just a misnomer. It means nothing. It means sleep. It means that he's going deep within himself. When he's connecting to the border of the unconscious, collective unconscious. And he's conscious, with his consciousness, is climbing deeper within and connecting to the border of the unconscious, beyond the subconscious, the individual program. And at that level, there is no separation between his thought and my thought. So if he accepted, because obviously he accepted that my thought will be his thought, my saying something will be as if he's saying it, because at that point he realized that he and I are one in his reality, because he's so deep inside. When I told him I'm going to wake you up, and everything will be fine. You were going to be rested. And you're going to remember everything that happened to you. And I told him that, however, your girlfriend is not here. Mm-hmm. I didn't say she will not. She is not here, and she's not here. until I don't say a particular code word. But if I don't say that code word, she's absolutely not here. Is that understood? He said, yes. And then I brought him out of the state of trance. So he opened his eyes, and I asked him, his name was Marcel. I said, Marcel, are you aware that you were hypnotized? Absolutely not. I was like, not hypnotized. I heard everything. I was doing this just like that, but I was not hypnotized. And I said, fine. So then we all went there, and then we say, congratulations. And his girlfriend jumps on him, and she tries to kiss him and talk to him. He would not see her. He was not even reacting. She pinched him on the cheek, tried to kick him somewhere. Nothing. She was gone from his reality.
This actually brings up.
That's a classical thing in hypnosis. I can send you books from the beginning of the 1900s, late 1800s. Famous hypnotists, they talk the whole time, and they're doing it until now. It's called, there is negative hallucination and positive hallucination. I can make you see anything I want. I can make you see a house. Now, the big question that I was asking myself already there is that, okay, that's interesting. So he doesn't see her, but he seems to see in order for the reality to be coherent, he has to see all of us, and he has to see behind her. Otherwise, how does he function? He was awake. So what we did, we put a number on a big piece of paper, and I put it behind the girl, and I said, what number is on the piece of paper? And he read it.
Behind her. Interesting. And yet because he couldn't see her. You like you said, you removed him from your reality.
Now, I removed that part of the reality. It's like the spoon. In his mind, he bent his reality so that she wasn't there anymore.
This brings up a huge point, Gerald. The fact that I think so many people on this planet right now, since, like we said, the fact of people walking around as sheep and not being awake, are hypnotized right now and have no idea that they are.
Yes, sir. So when they see things that they think they see, my big question is, who is going inside their subconscious, collective consciousness, or the morphing field? You know what a field is of group consciousness that they have espoused and that they believe in. Who is going into that field, infiltrating their collective consciousness on a group side, okay, like a bee consciousness, like a hive, and making them see things that others don't see? And
That's right.
For what purpose?
The negative forces.
It might be negative, it might be positive. The question is, you have to analyze the reason why you're seeing that.
Now,
if you don't believe in that, if you don't enter that field, like Sheldrake said, that morphic field, you are not going to be influenced by it. You can refuse it. The problem is most people right now are watching TV and they don't realize they are living a life which is basically anyway in a hallucination, but they're not choosing which part of the hallucination of this world that we think we are in they should invite and which part they should refute. So they go, oh, I just saw it, or I don't see it, I don't believe it, or I go at night and I see this figure appearing to me. Your higher self will send you all the figures you want. Your higher self, if your higher self needs to send you a message, your own soul, in order to help you, because this creation was created with a separation between the higher self, the soul, and the lower self. This is how hypnosis operates anyway. So this doesn't happen for the animals, but it happens for the humans on purpose, so that there is a possibility of making choices most of the time at the level of the higher self, but sometimes the lower self itself makes choices. So the higher self is trying to guide you like a shepherd. Please don't go there. It's not good for you. But you don't listen because you listen to your friends. You don't listen. You don't connect within. You don't give yourself 1 day out of a week to get information as to what you should do, or 5 minutes a day even, to connect to yourself. It's no one else. It's yourself. When they say twin self, your higher self is your twin.
Let's talk about
the twin self.
Why it's so important to connect to your higher self, because when you're able to connect to your higher self, you're able to see, like you mentioned, the different possibilities of
Correct.
going on in life and get messages that are accurate.
Yeah. Yeah. And then when you do this, the higher self, if you're stuck within a particular belief system, will send you the character or the information in a way by which you will accept it. Do you understand? A lot of the belief systems that you have, either you personally approved and went into them, but most of the time you were born in it by family culture, by national culture, by language, by belief in certain histories. By now, it's getting even worse because now we're having the beliefs that are coming through the internet. So there's a lot of them now, and there's a lot of conspiracies right and left. So if you believe in that, it will send you, in order to help you, whatever you need through those, even holographically in front of you, so that you change and you get better. You understand?
Yes.
However, if you don't want, and you want to be feeding fear, it will send you fear thoughts and fear dimensions and fear beliefs, and then you're going to become angry because there's always polarity. If there is love, there is a side that's going to manifest fear. And right now, that side is extremely powerful.
Now, can you talk about some examples of what people do to feed fear? Because from what I understand, is feeding fear only creates more of it.
Fear is an illusion. You're only afraid of what you don't know and what you think is not you. When you understand that, like you said, love the other like your soul, because it's you. It's not someone else, another soul. It's you. There's only one real soul in creation. It's the one that fractalizes itself into trillions, and you cannot even imagine the amount of perceptions, but it's still the one. So that great soul, if you want, is trying to find perfection within itself and peace within itself. And it's asking us, as the extensions that are in this holographic dream, to go back to our sources, to our basis, and not to the stories. The stories or the writings are not helping us in one way. Now, if they do inspire you, yeah, go to the writings because they inspire you for love. But if those same writings are bringing fear and the desire to control others or even destroy them, just get it. It's poison. Get away from them, because you know what they're going to do to you and to the rest of creation and the groupings that are feeding on that. Because those fear doesn't have energy. It's a negative pole. It attracts energy from love. It needs love in order to survive.
You talked about the polarity of the two. If there's love, then you'll have the illusion of fear or things like that, right? So what would cause people to have more of an illusion as opposed to people who know, like you said, it's the illusion of fear of the unknown. But once they know, and there's no longer that element of the unknown, a lot of people's illusion of fear is actually gone. And so, again, this goes back to people being disconnected and not awake and not understanding what's going on. What can people do to get rid of this illusion of fear, aside from what me and you have said, which is to recognize it?
First of all, they have to connect deeply within themselves, like that young man was when he was in that state. You can do it yourself. We teach you to do that yourself with full control. You have control. No one is telling you what to do. You have control, and you get to that point where you become aware that the whole field around you, the morphogenic field, is you. It's just you. So you're starting to become aware of that. So when someone is in front of you and you want to engage in your reality with it, and he's got a different morphogenic field, and you somehow vibrate on the same level, or you want to make him more alive, vibrate him to a much higher reality of awareness, you just send love. But you cannot just send love like people say, send love as an energy. I send love to you. You cannot send love. You have to be love. It's not an energy that goes across. God is never sending love. It is love. Because it's itself. It's not loving anybody else. He cannot love anybody else because there is nobody else.
That's actually a very powerful statement that you said, is to be love. Be love. Actually physically embrace it, to be it.
To be it. You will only manifest who you are. We teach that in our course, and even if you go on our website, there is an ebook. I wish I would have put a price on it so that people at least read it, because all the mechanisms of creation are there.
And it is a fascinating ebook. Yeah, it is a fascinating book. I've read it multiple times before I even started the course. Before we go to break, and because of course we're going to talk more about manifestations and attacks on us, and one of the specific attacks that was happening in my almost quite backyard that I was mentioning. We'll do that after break. Let me just, you mentioned something, the holograms or holographic. Can you touch on the holographic universe?
The holographic universe, it's hologram in the way by which you create a hologram, by showing a laser light. It's the system is holographic, meaning that every part, which means you, I, have access to the information of the totality. That's how the universe was created. We have different functions, but we have access to the information of the totality, and we can access the totality. That's what a hologram is.
Well said. Listen, go ahead and finish your thought.
No, that's it.
Okay. Well, I was going to say, everybody stay tuned, because we come back. We got so much more with Gerald O'Donnell. And because we've got a couple minutes in which should have been break, we'll have at least 50 straight minutes. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Hello everyone, my name is Derek White Sky Cloud. I'm a psychic medium and paranormal investigator, and my show is called Between Two Worlds Radio on the LNM Radio Network. I'm on Tuesday nights from 9 o'clock to 11 p.m. Come and join me on the Pacific Time. We talk about the paranormal, alternative health, and other subjects that can actually mess with your mind. And you can join us on the LNM Radio chat room. Come and listen. We'll see you there.
What happened to the good old days when people were loyal and we all had fun without drama? Where every Saturday morning at 4 a.m. Eastern, we invite you to join Encounters with the Nearlies and discuss endless topics and throwbacks of the yesteryears, bringing back to you retro interactive radio to the fullest. And yes, you got it. It's Throwback Saturdays with your hosts, Dr. Darryl and Dr. Katie Neely, turning back the hands of the Father Time and bringing people back to a place of peace. So get down, get sassy, and get jiggy with us. Oh, just don't drink while you're listening, because we are not responsible for the damage that comes from spitting it out while you laugh. So join us on Encounters with the Neelys, exclusively on the LNM Radio Network.
Grace has some pretty stellar arms, like Serena Williams good, but her face is pretty disgusting.
Someone please tell him to go back into his closet and leave us alone.
Brittany's face is so stupid and I hate her so much. It's like a scientist created her in a lab to annoy humanity and didn't even do that good of a job.
Megan reminds me of a troll doll that came to life intent on killing us with her stupidity.
Why is Grace's head so big? It definitely has nothing to do with how smart she is and probably everything to do with how bloated she is.
He's so funny. Just kidding. Who would find this disfigured flamingo funny?
Never post a selfie of yourself. You look so ugly.
The only reason you have so many views is because we think you're a freak and we can't look away.
Megan is the main reason that the world sucks so much.
I would rather get cancer than listen to another Trevor Moran song.
You are a mistake. You should have never been born.
Drown yourself in a shallow puddle, please.
wow, I hope she's sterile.
These really stopped being funny a long time ago.
You're so much more than the things that people say about you.
Those people have no right to say cruel things to you to make themselves feel better.
It's okay that you sound different than everyone else.
That's what makes you so special.
We will not tolerate it.
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 Every day, people make me feel like I stand out simply because of the way that I look.
Every day, people make me feel small.
Every day, I face the cruel words of bullying. And every day, people tell me that I'm brave for enduring this humiliation.
But we're not the brave ones.
It's the ones that say no to the bullying.
The witnesses.
If we all join together, there's nothing that we can't do.
We will no longer be the silent majority.
When we see bullying online,
We will let the world know that we're going to take action with the I.
Now, when you see online bullying, there's something you can do about it.
Our actions will overpower cruel words.
I am a witness.
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 There is power in words.
But it's nothing compared to the power of the actions that we put behind our words.
Visit eyewitnessbullying.org to learn more.
I am a witness, and so are you.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
We have ignition. Strap in. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, welcome back to the second half of Dr. J Radio Live. As you know, we are internationally syndicated. I've already mentioned the networks in the first hour. We have been talking to Gerald O'Donnell, founder of the Academy of Remote Viewing and Remote Influencing. And as you noticed, we haven't been talking much about remote viewing because we've been talking about something far greater than that. The dangers of humanity right now, the disconnection people are having, the manifestations people are wrongly manifesting right now for their lives, which are actually causing us to go that much more downhill. And most importantly, the idea that we are locked in this matrix. But listen, folks, all hope is not lost. You can wake up. You can start connecting to yourself and to other people. And that's why I'm glad we've had Gerald O'Donnell on this for this last hour. And already people are writing in the chat that this is a great show, which is exactly what I knew would happen when I brought him on. So Gerald, let me ask you this now, since I've been holding this question for quite some time. I want to turn to attacks on us right now, attacks on humanity, on Earth. And one of the attacks we could start with is the fire in California, the fires, plural.
Yeah. This creation is on the brink of really going down into the total abyss, because it's only alive by the grace of the one. There was a point where there were interventions by sub-creators, and that was enough. But right now, it has to be done from the core, because at that level there is no rules, nothing. So it can still do it, but because of our behaviors here, and this force of anger that's coming out, of disrespect, of everything, and of isolation, when one is trying to separate from each other. And this is not the first time. This is the story of mankind, when they try to separate from each other and then go into conflict. There is great concern that we're not going to react in time now. There is no time, but there are steps. And the rules of nature, even though, of course, they could be removed from one day to the other, the one will not do that, because it needs to abide by his own rules. Do you understand?
Yes.
So when
yes.
So as the warming is increasing, there was a knowledge, and I got connected in 1989, and we got what you could call, I don't like to call it a prophecy, but like a probable future statement about the next century. There was 1989 exactly. So it's basically almost 30 years ago. So when we got this information, they were talking about the fact that humanity most probably, and the biggest concern for at the level of the godliness was at that point was global warming already there. And it was not created by the sun, was not created by aliens, was not created by some secret cabal or whatever. It was created by humans because in a very simple way, they're using carbon products, and then it's just going up and then creating putting us into a prison of heating gases that cannot be reabsorbed, because on top of it we're cutting the trees all over the place, and the ocean is dying, so the plankton cannot absorb it and transform it into oxygen. So what I was told that most probably they won't react in time, and then there will be a total disaster. And I don't even want to get into this right now. And I've not published this book on purpose because it was too horrific to explain. It was not the end of creation, but it was really bad. So the fire is a warning. I mean, how can you explain that the houses burned out in no time? And I'm sure the death toll is by far greater than they officially want to recognize, because it's not good for the politicians. But and I have no proof of that, so I'm not going to say it.
Well, a couple things have come to light since I've talked about this last during the week of the fires. One is that these trees that were burned inside out, and yes. I've seen some startling video for that. I've also told you about all these images I've been shown by a friend where you see a house burnt and you see all their dry shrubbery and a big dry tree untouched, completely untouched. I mean, some of the places look like the fire was laser precision.
Yeah, there is no explanation for that. In other words, the fire, nature was kept alive, but the human structures were taken off. And the city that was destroyed, very sadly, and it's nothing personal, I'm sure those souls were taken out before, then they did not suffer. That's one thing that I know for a fact. Most souls, as they get to a point of gigantic trauma, are taken out. So the body seems to be suffering, but they're not there. The soul is already hovering and going back. So there is no, and the soul is, trust me, is very often very happy to be going back. But it's difficult for the people who remain here, and this is not a reason. But it has to be a warning. The problem is that this is the problem with humanity. Instead of even putting a God or the Creator, let's not even call him God because that's a name, the Creator into the equation, he's like on the bottom of the pile, as if he doesn't exist. He's gone to Miami Beach into a retirement home, and he's like senile, and deaf. So unless you call him by a certain name, and then he revives, So that's a serious situation.
Yeah, yeah, it is. I was going to say, what proper name should people be using to call the Creator?
Nothing. There's no name to the one. It's a concept of unity, that he's only one, not two. That's very important. It's not a name. He's one, all one, and it cannot be two. He creates the illusion of the many.
And
so
that's what we're talking about, that we're all
creating the illusion of the many. The role of the many is to go back to their perception of being the one. We have to meet halfway. You know that famous story with the fingers, we meet halfway. We have to meet halfway. Man who is God in drags, if you want, thinking that they have to pay taxes and running around here and taking care of the children. That's their role. It's beautiful. Have to go back to that perception that they are the one. As they do that, they will take care of everything. Humanity, the animals, all this is given. It's almost a joke to do this. The world is not overpopulated as we think. It has all the resources we need, and we will, if we cannot create it on our own, which I doubt, we're going to be downloading the information in no time, and it's going to come out. So there will be free energy. This is not a problem.
No, it's not.
We don't have to kill ourselves and commit suicide in a general way, but that was a warning. What is sad is that you have certain groupings who are obsessed with fear theories. We're going to tell you, no, this was like some alien ship that sent a particular wave, or it was a harp that did this, or it was some secret society. Why would a secret society want to destroy that particular city in one shot? And how did they even make it so that the nature doesn't burn out? When there was a couple of years, there was a plane that disappeared. Remember the Malaysian plane?
Yes, MH370. Yes.
Right. 2 days after the disappearance of the Malaysian plane, I got a message, and it's on the website, saying that nobody will ever find it. That was against any rule of material reality. It became an obsession for all the navies of the world. They looked for it, they looked for it. They never found it until today. The one was sending a message. He was saying that I can make things disappear if I want to, and I'm only taking one little plane, but it could be like a whole continent. You can go dig holes under the earth and thinking that you're hiding from some what you think is going to be an explosion of the sun. It's not an explosion of the sun. It's me. I can take you if I stop concentrating on you, because you're me. I'm thought and infinite intelligence. Infinite intelligence. If I don't keep you vibrated every single second of your life at some level or another, you don't exist. You just boom. You just disappear like a puff of smoke. Even your biology can go.
Directed energy weapon. That's something that has just come into my vocabulary with what we were saying before the show.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about that and technology?
I'm not a specialist on that. I know that it exists. There's a lot of for many years already. Even a lot of countries have been working on that. And if you believe that there are aliens, they definitely do use that. And they can use many types of directed energy. There's some that use sound, some use lasers, some use EMP, some use just name it. It's an obsession, but they're not used for building international relationships and love across the ocean, across the world. They're destructive.
Division. That seems to be a bigger problem right there. Killing, but also division.
Division, yeah. Why are we, in the year 2000, the world was really starting to unite. And then a force came in 1 year later. And you could call this a direct energy weapon attack, but it just showed itself. Say, hi, I'm here. I'm not accepting this. I'm going to show my ugly head again. In other words, the Second World War is not over. I'm coming back up. That's an old problem and a battle that we have to fight inside of us. Because if we turn away from this, if we don't fall for that particular program, and if we choose in our reality to add positive things, like I did to this young man when I could have added beautiful things. If I keep on thinking of positive things, if we connect to the one, everything will change. All the weapons will be obsolete. We witnessed this in the beginning of the fall of the Soviet Empire. They were destroying their tanks. That was a miracle. Right. It didn't happen just like that. There was intervention. There was godly intervention because we were 2 minutes away from nuclear annihilation.
We were. I think a lot of people who are even younger fail to recognize the dangers that we really were having nuclear weapons pointed at them and them pointing at us. And at 10 days, I believe, in September or October, whatever it was in the early 60s with JFK, they had weapons in Cuba, nuclear,
they could have that too. Could have exploded in no time. Yes. And they're right now they're playing with fire every day. They're like trying to show their power. All the countries are losing it. This is a force that we should not accept right now. It's over. It's like if you don't learn from history, which means if you don't go past a certain stage in the matrix and you go higher, you're going to repeat the history in a different format. It's going to be more technological, more deadly. And why are we accepting this? In the name of what?
Let me ask you a question about nature and why it's such an important reason that people need to be connecting to nature instead of concrete, technology, plaster walls, things like that.
Okay, because nature was not created by man, none of it. There's not a single human being that can even create a flower or an ant. All of nature is God made manifested in front of you. It works in a perfected way, the same way your biology. If you have your biology, is at least supposed to work in perfection without you even being aware of it, because there is a gigantic intelligence they think is in your brain, but it's not in your brain. Call it your subconscious. That's coordinating the trillions of operation every milliseconds that make you alive. There is a much higher level that connects all the levels of creation. Every single creation is connected by one level, which is a feminine side of God that we call Mother Nature. It's him, but it's his feminine facet. It's not like he has a wife across. It's his facet. So when you connect to nature, you're connecting to this creation, the other creations that we cannot even perceive for now, because eventually we will, but when we're ready only. And you're connecting to God in a live fashion in front of you. And instead of destroying God and his creation, because that's what we're doing, why not try to connect to it and give it more respect? We're supposed to be the steward of nature, not the destructor of nature.
And right now, technically, we are destroying nature. And can you tell people the negative effects of that? I mean, obviously, as you mentioned, because nature was not created by man. And I think people really need to recognize that. But as we're creating nature, I think we've fallen more into being slaves. Is that an accurate statement?
Yes. Well, because we won't be able to be fed by nature. Most people right now are losing energy. Now you can eat all the grass in your backyard, and eat raw. I'm sorry, it's a bad joke. Or you can do all the detoxing and take all the vitamins and supplements are coming. You're still going to be lacking energy. You know why? Because the energy of life is going through nature and then it goes to man. We are the children of Mother Nature. And when nature is dying and she's losing her energy because the children are destroying her, we die.
Now, it's not just trees.
We have no energy. We cannot function. And no machine is going to give you this. None.
That's right. Or no prescription drug full of chemicals.
Nothing, especially not that, no. And you remember the way we felt when we used to go to the ocean 40 years ago?
Yes.
How we went to a mountain. Anybody, you didn't have to be religious or not religious. You felt God. You were on top of a mountain looking down and you felt the energy. It was sublime.
It was, but now you go to the ocean and you just don't feel it, especially here in California. And I would think the same in Florida because I was there.
In Florida, it's worse. We cannot even go to the ocean because it's totally poisoned by human refuse, and then we have red tide. It's like the first plague in Egypt. It looks like blood. And then everybody is sick, including me. This whole summer I was getting sick because I live in front of the ocean.
Let's talk about the red tide for people who aren't aware of it, because I think they don't recognize that it's far, far more serious.
Well, red tide is created by a certain microorganism called Carina brevis, which is a parasite. And not only is it in the water, it goes in the air. It evaporates and it goes miles inland, and people are breathing it. So, of course, the medical establishment is telling you, well, it's bad if you have asthma, but don't bring your dog because he will die within the day. If your dog is going to die within the day and whales are dying and manatees are dying and there is no fish basically left around here, it's going to kill humans. There's no treatment that we know of getting rid of it. It goes into your brain and it eventually can give you all kinds of symptoms, including probably Alzheimer or I don't know what. I was really sick. So this is a message again. This didn't happen by coincidence. We never had red tide on the eastern coast of Florida. We only have it because the ocean is rising. It's getting warmer and warmer and warmer, and they're just in the name of money because of the agriculture lobby here. They're just dumping freely in the ocean all the pesticides and the herbicides and especially the fertilizers. The fertilizers are making those algae grow by far faster, especially in a warm environment. And then these are not like the plankton that take from the atmosphere the carbon and produce oxygen. They take the oxygen away from the ocean, so the fish die. They literally absorb oxygen.
You actually beat what I was going to just ask you. Because I've seen those images, Gerald, and it's so sad, literally. And I would imagine what the smell is like, having all these dead fish pouring, in from the ocean and just
millions
dead.
Yeah.
Millions. Yeah.
Millions. Yeah, we're killing ourselves. The ocean is in the Bible. The ocean is not the real ocean. It's the ocean of consciousness. But when we everything happens in a parallel representation. When our ocean dies because we are killing the ocean, we are killing the real ocean of consciousness, and we die.
And here in California, one of the many problems that we've been dealing with for years is the radiation from Fukushima. I mean, I'm scared to eat sushi now or anything like that because of the fact that if years ago all the debris washed up, then I knew if the debris made it here, well, then obviously the radioactive waste made it here.
And they still haven't taken care of it.
No, and that's
even
what
the
worries
Russians
me.
when they're at Chernobyl, in Ukraine in the 80s, they put a tomb of cement. Nothing has been done because I don't ask me why. I cannot even explain it. But this is having a major effect. They're killing the Pacific.
Unless they want to continue to have this, so they can.
You know what? People are not usually that evil because they want to be evil. They're just evil because they don't care. Because they only care about money, or they care about power, or they care about the position. They just don't have feelings. They've lost their heart. So some people are intentionally evil. You may help their plans, but I don't believe that most people are evil. I think most people, when they go back to their core self, which is God, they have to become loving again. But they've lost it. They've been so traumatized and so distracted that they think that they have to fight because, God forbid, should they be in lack or whatever lack they think they're going to have, and they have to get more and more and more junk and more and more and more and more until they've eaten. It's like a virus. They eat the host, and then the host dies, and then the virus dies too. We're not supposed to be virus.
Another thing that we are dealing with around the globe is these earthquakes, but not just regular earthquakes. We're talking about so many over 9.0. I don't recall that happening
Never.
in the 80s or hearing about it in the 70s, 90s, 2000. I mean, 2000 when it started with the 2004 Sumatra quake, but there has not been a single year where there's not at least a 9.0 somewhere.
No. And if you look at the message that I received this year on January 1st by the one, when he was really depressed or usually he doesn't talk like this. He was in a mood which was usually tougher than. He said, "Soon I will rumble."
Yes, and that's what's happening now. Really rumbling.
And he said, "Why?" He said, "Because you're destroying nature, and I won't let you do that."
Easier to get.
But paradise was not created to become a refuse of poisoned waters and atmospheres and a place where you dump willfully all that you cannot use. My paradise was not meant to be turned into a potential living hell. There is no place for hell in paradise, and I will not allow it to become such.
And we are replaceable as the inhabitants, right?
Not really. Trust me, he loves us. But what are you going to do with you have children that
misbehaving,
becoming gang members? And I mean, at one point you have to, if you're a father, and then because you can see what's in front of them, the disasters that they're going to create, not only to others but to themselves. You have to be a little tougher and tell them that enough is enough. But who is listening? Maybe some children are listening because they're young, but are the adults listening? I don't know.
I'm actually starting to get the impression that not many are. The people tuning in and paying attention here that seem to be awake. Yeah, but can I say that about most of the population that I talk to? No, they want to know what the Kardashians are doing. They want to know what steals they can get on Black Friday. Things like that, as opposed to worrying about connecting with themselves, with other people, and of course the source, and understanding the unity. Another thing that we talked about recently, Gerald, was AI, artificial intelligence. and how
Yeah.
dangerous this is for us. And if you
Yeah.
recall, what I said is that even now at the early stages of what we are creating as AI, not the AI that you had talked about, I'm talking about what people are creating with these new computers. Well, it's even been shown that this artificial intelligence is actually withholding information from the users, the creators, meaning humans, and has even showed signs in some testing that it wants to kill the creators. And that's like Terminator 2, Judgment Day actually happening. And
Yeah,
if
but
they're still promoting this, then what the hell are
not
they
only are they
doing?
promoting it, they think that this is the way of the future. The car companies are now, just doing this too. They want to put everything on the robotics. But the first question that I'm having, let's say if you take a company like Uber, when they started Uber, they started their model or their particular idea. The idea was, it was right after the crisis of 2008, where everybody was losing their jobs. They say, okay, you know what? You take your car, we'll monitor you, we'll take a percentage, and it will be able to employ so many people who need just food on their table right now. So, and so many people join the group, and then suddenly, out of the blue, the idea comes: who needs the driver? Let the car drive by itself. Why? The whole idea was to have these people. How are they going to employ everybody?
They're not. They're moving away from
the humans.
Yeah.
They don't even need coders. When people tell you we need people to code, that's not true. The machines, especially the AI machines, are coding themselves, that's the big danger. They're doing their own algorithm and they're recoding themselves on their own, and you might not find out. The cloud can connect AI to AI to AI, and at one point you can just decide, you know what, we don't need this country, or we need half of this, and it's intelligent enough to be able to destroy a whole grid or electrical grid or blow a nuclear weapon. I mean, what I'm trying to say, this is the story of mankind, and the story of, when you look at the creator at the beginning of pure love going down 3 levels, and that it's trying to 4th level. That's going to be interesting if you ever make it. This is the story of mankind. Just trying to get more efficient, but losing your heart.
Will we even have a future at all if we are starting?
Yes, if we turn away, we don't need AI. We don't need even we can still. There is a way of doing communication through phones that use light. They have it already, but nobody wants that. They'd rather blast their brain with 5G now. So
yeah.
I mean, somebody is investing in that for a reason, right? And don't tell me that people need to be watching 5,000 TV channels and play games, and that's not the reason we are here. Ask yourself, why are you even born? Do you think it's just to eat, to sleep, to make love, and then to age usually badly, and then bye-bye, and there's nothing else? No. It's to improve on your soul, on your consciousness, to make it more, to improve the quality of it, not the quantity, not to have more people following you on Facebook, so that your soul alone improves its own quality. Because at the level of God, there is no quantity, it doesn't exist. It's only quality. And if you want to be brought up to a higher level, you need to improve your quality of consciousness. You have to be more refined, not rude, not coarse, not aggressive, because you won't be taken up, because you don't align with the one.
One thing that you do teach, and let me know if this is going to be enough time, because we have 20 minutes before we get off air, and if you want to spend time on other topics, by all means. But one thing that you do teach in the Academy of Remote Viewing and Remote Influencing is to improve our soul and our consciousness, to refine it. Do you want to go into details of messages you got and why people should really consider having this course? Because it is a lifetime course, by the way. I mean, I've gone through it multiple times, and I do continue to use it. I mean, even yesterday when we talked.
Right. It's because the whole purpose of the course is basically to open the portal of yourself. You have a portal inside to your higher self and then even higher. And the one that, as you open the portal, you have to push the door. There's no door, as a matter of fact. You just have to get in on the other side. As you get in, you become really what God will consider a living entity. Because you're making much more choices. You're closer to that level, which is your inner subconscious, higher level subconscious. And as you get to that level, your so to speak control over your reality gets bigger. You can heal yourself. I mean, I've healed myself. I've seen healing around my family. There are just, people would say there are miracles, but nothing is a miracle when you understand what is really happening. Your intuition will increase dramatically. At the very least, you're going to know what not to do. There is a guy, because I used to train special forces in the middle 80s, and there's a guy who wrote a book now called Michael Jacko. It's called The Intuitive Warrior. He's basically telling a similar story. He was trained for that, and he applied it very much. And when he was as a SEAL, a Navy SEAL, when he was in Iraq, he was involved in many IED situations. He avoided his whole. Nobody died in his platoon. Nobody. And he was very proud of that because he could change a situation. First of all, he could foretell of it, not based on intel, because sometimes the intel was wrong, but he was proven right. And he was proud of the fact that he barely killed anybody else. He was able to change the whole nature of the conflict around him, at least in his reality, to this. And this is what we are here for. Is to you fight for peace. You fight to increase your beingness, to have all these what people think are powers. Everybody has it. In God's name, your dog has it. They can foresee when you're coming home half an hour before you arrive.
That's true. That is very true. And yet most people don't even know they have these powers, and yet they're just dormant. And meditation, right, I've noticed, is a very, very important thing for multiple reasons. Would you say meditation, just again, since you would know more than me, would you say meditation is an integral part in awakening what some people call the third eye, or awakening oneself to be able to connect to your higher self in the source?
Yeah, there are different ways of explaining what meditation is. What I like to say that meditation is like when you I don't call it meditation, but when you go within yourself and you self-reflect on your own self, and then you go into a peaceful point of awareness, and then suddenly things happen. You like jump into an area where everything is quiet and powerful. You know it. You're not in your regular state. And from that state, you can get advice, because I get direct advice. Ask questions and I get answers. You can get guidance as you go during the day. You'll be intuitive. Let me not do this. It's not a good idea, or this is a great idea. I'm in the flow, or I'm not in the flow. You will understand the situations in the world in the way by which most people don't, so you can at least help others, or you can help yourself. You understand? And then you have access, because I made a first course. It was called remote viewing, and then I said remote influencing, and people are asking what's the difference, and I said there is no difference really, because when you are when they do an experiment in quantum physics, they remote view. They look far away outside of themselves into a laboratory apparatus. But they're remote influencing the result of the experiment. That's when this big realization came into modern physics, that consciousness is the key. So when you remote view, and even some people in the military didn't understand that, you're influencing it, or you can influence it. They were not necessarily using it for that. You can influencing it very powerfully, as a matter of fact. There are techniques where you can really change things on a very high scale.
And again,
that I won't
that's things
discuss in the interview.
That is things like you did say, things that you're able to heal yourself. Or I remember when I bought the course, you were having testimonials in UFO magazine. There was a woman, I believe, in Germany who was able to influence her world, her life, by being able to see I don't know if it was called Powerball or the local lottery in her home country, and was able to win. Again, just one of many, many, many testimonials of why this course is good. And I'm glad you mentioned the fact of remote influencing, because again, that proves what we've been saying, that you can change the outcome of your life as long as you start to recognize and start to wake up, going back to what we were originally saying. Now,
waking up to who you are, that's what you need, and then living it. And then at that point, of course, you're going to influence your reality. And as your reality intersects with others, you're going to basically influence a lot more than you can even imagine.
Some of the messages you've been receiving over the years, is there any that stick out on your head that would be applicable to the things we've talked about?
If you want me to read it now?
I mean, I'm saying if you have any that you think would be applicable to share right now, or if you don't, people can see them in your newsletters.
Well, I can read the last message I received in April.
January. Oh, April. Okay.
You want January? That's with the rumbling and the fire. You mentioned something about fire too.
Yeah.
Okay, but that was a tough message. So I don't like some people don't like to hear that. You are now inside the dominion of the original abyss, ruled by the forces of chaos and arrogance, tearing apart the holy fabric of my creation. In the dawn of your awakening to my awareness, you have turned your back to it to pursue your false idols and your empty dreams. You are by now fully fallen as a creation, all of it. So many dreams, such great potential, so many lives gone to naught. Suffering and instability are mostly in the here and now your constant companions. Why do you not see where you're heading to? Why are you so deaf to the voices of reason and true empathy? Your hearts have turned to stone. You walk blindly towards the final extinction of your existence without asking yourself what you have sadly become. You were given so many opportunities to easily veer away from the outcome you so heartlessly chose. Many spoke to your hearts, hoping to steer your minds towards much better outcomes. But you stubbornly clenched your fist and fought true love as you rebelled mercilessly against it. Your world is mine. I created you within it, and that cannot change. You were given purposely an unusual degree of free will together with the elements who sustain and energize your beingness. You were here to achieve manifesting my only unity in the multiplicity of existences. I created you inside a true paradise where all was made available to you in order to sustain your existence, and I allowed you to reproduce and spread yourselves. You were and are all, without exception, my children, and because of the deep love I cannot but feel for yourselves, which is but the love I feel for myself, I'm in a profound state of deep pain as I need to make decisions soon which cause me immense suffering regarding a possible termination of this very challenging experience in which the one allowed the many within the one to rule the one. You were all my chosen children. You were all meant for great achievements. I held your hands and tried to guide your minds, but you, for the most part, violently tore away from me, distorted all of me, and turned away from connecting to me. You were once so beautiful, oh my beloved, so comely. I cry when I see what you have now become, a shadow of your past resplendence. You that is slowly extinguishing itself by yourselves, because of yourselves. There is nothing I can do in order to sustain it for much longer. Your anger towards me and towards each other is poisoning all and everything. You disrespect life itself, not understanding that it is who I am, for I am life, and nothing else is it. You choose false and empty idols, hoping that they will lead you to some artificial paradise. In that act, you shall all fall and destroy your future. As you become far less aware of me as life, I, as life, shall become less aware of you within my gigantic mind. You shall fall into deep, dark recesses of my imagination, for I am the one who keeps you alive by imagining you. And as I will gradually need to stop thinking about you, you shall therefore slowly disappear from the only mind and the only existence there was, there is, and there surely could only be, which is me, the one and the only. This is what is causing your acute lack of true life energy. This is what is expressing itself as great uneasiness in your extinguishing souls. There is very little time left for you to turn away from falling into empty pursuits and from what is not real. You need desperately to understand the power of true unity, true oneness, for that is all I am. Nothing outside of it is me, but mere distortions and harbingers of death. Unite, my children, among all of yourselves, and bring my presence into your hearts as you then express me. Connect to yourselves and with love, for life is gifted and you only exist through true love. Everything outside of true love is but your heart's folly and empty, dangerous pursuits. Reject and erase the voices who cause hatred and oppression to arise within yourselves, for they have not ever connected to me, but to the ultimate rebellion against me. This needs to be done rapidly in order to preserve you and preserve myself. And that means that I cannot allow within myself elements that are so totally incompatible with who I am, for I am love, unconditionally so. The rest will soon need to go and disappear into the darkness of oblivion from within my mind as I erase their existence and the memory of it forever so. There are very few creative steps left before you all experience something which will be very difficult to watch. I need your love, not your fear. I am not fear, and not to be feared. Fear is but a negation of love. Love each other. Love all the dear co-creative species who are here only trying to support your life, your existence in this magnificent paradise I created for all of you, and do not destroy it, for you are destroying yourselves in that process. Be kind, learn to be tender, as I am your mother and your father. Learn to love yourselves again, fall in love with each other. Be respectful, for every entity, be it human or otherwise, is but holy, for it was created by the Holy One. Don't subjugate your precious consciousness to lifeless technologies, for soon, if you do not turn away from them, they will destroy you. For they were created to be tools gifted by me, so that you communicate and flourish across all divides. But these very tools are in the process of becoming your masters, and you are enslaving yourselves, willingly so, for reasons that I find very disturbing. My paradise was not created to become a refuge of poisoned waters and atmospheres, and a place where you dump willfully all that you cannot use. My paradise was not meant to be turned into a potential living hell. There is no place for hell in paradise, and I will not allow it to become such. Every species has been created individually by me. There is no intelligent life without pure intelligence having created it. They all reflect each other in a certain hierarchy of existence. Nevertheless, every single individual species is but a creation of myself by myself. And you are not allowed, nor will any other grouping of living entities ever be allowed, to interfere with my intelligence by attempting to alter the integrity and preciousness of every single interconnected species, for you do not know the impact that this can have upon the chain of holy life. You have been forewarned. Act upon that warning. All your diseases are but a manifestation of who you have become and what future awaits you. They are but symptoms of the general state of your creation and of your co-creative activities. Nothing happens or exists in any type of vacuum. That is an illusion. It is impossible, for there are no true separations within me. I am all of it, all of myself. Stop blaming others for what it is that you have become. Work on yourselves by yourselves. Stop waiting for illusory saviors to lead you away from yourselves. For your inner selves are the one and only savior by which your salvation will come. And you need to save yourselves, each and every one of you. This misconception has caused you so much pain by allowing the insecure, weak, and the haughty to rule over you. Do not be sheep waiting for empty leaders to rule and lead you outside of what you have become, but be the leader of your own existence. Accept that most of what you have been taught and told about yourselves and about creation were just misconceptions and ingrained programs that you inherited from your culture and your parents, and that most of them were so distorted that I can barely look upon them. Revive, and I will arise from within you. Embrace, and I will love you so much. Forgive, for without it, there cannot be love. Forget, for the pains of old can only be healed by erasing their impact. Be and cry for pure, innocent joy, for that is my wish for us, and the only state I can and accept to dwell in. I am you, you are me. We cannot ever separate. That is the only unity that cannot be taken away. For without it, I and you stop existing as such. Remember who you are and stop and watch what you have all become. This will be all for now. 1st January 2018.
That's a very, very powerful message. And again, it's almost as if it's addressed to every human. And this goes back to what you were saying earlier, Gerald, that we are connected as one. And what it's telling, the message, is really not that hard. I mean, what we should be doing, to love people, to love each other, love ourselves, stop destroying the paradise that we were given.
Yes.
Take responsibility within ourselves, and
take care of ourselves.
Yeah, because we can save each other. We could save ourselves within. Now, we got a little under 4 minutes till the end of the show. So let me ask you briefly about this, because this is something I meant to ask you earlier when you were talking about the devices that this message was, the source was telling you, the devices. We are now slaves to them. Remember,
in a couple of years. Yes.
And this is a problem because people leave them or forget them at home, and they feel more naked than anything else.
Yep.
Now, again, for this message, you have it posted on your website?
Yes, it is. They're all posted, yeah. If you go on a New Year's message or just look at all the messages for this year, they're all there. There are 3 direct messages, and they're very powerful. And there's some writing that I wrote. I think is really helpful.
Well, we got a couple minutes left, so here's what I'm going to ask you to do. First, let's tell people, first of all, if you could just give a final statement to wrap things up, and then also spend the time to talk about where people can sign up for the course, where they can see your messages, and sign up for your newsletter.
Okay, the name of the website is probablefuture.com. It's been the name of the website since 1997. And I was basically downloaded the information and created those courses so that people have access. And as a matter of fact, the access has changed. Before, you used to vibrate yourself higher. Now we're being blocked from vibrating. I won't explain why. But we have a point within ourselves, inside our heart, that's the same. So you can never not access the one. Nothing will block us. They're trying to block us. But we are cooperating. It takes 2 to tango. So you're going to connect to the one. And at that point, basically, I don't like to call it special powers because this is who we are. Humans used to be like this not so long ago. So you can basically be open to the gifts that the one wants to shower us with. But he can't do this in this type of creation where everybody's fighting and everybody's hating and everybody's cursing. This is not his world anymore. He doesn't recognize himself. He doesn't see himself in us. And it's painful to him to do that. And he doesn't want to get rid of us. He really doesn't. You hear it. He has to make a decision, but it's a lot of pain for him to do that. So what the one is asking is, forget about religion. It has nothing to do with religion. It's who you are. It's who everybody are. Every consciousness says that. So just focus on the unity inside.
And like
Just
you said,
focus
within, literally, it
within.
comes down to within.
Within and without, because your world is also you. So within and without, focus that everything is the one. When you meet somebody, you're meeting a mirrored facet, a different way of looking of the one. It's just a different way of the one to represent itself, but it's still the one. It's still you. And when you get to that point when you realize that you're meeting yourself, no matter who they are, what they look like, what they say, you understand? Then love is going to overtake fear, and all the fear structures and all the fear scaffolding that are holding us prison, because we're in a prison planet here. All those fear scaffolding will collapse, and it's not that we're going to get rid of technology, but we're going to use technology as our tools, not as becoming servants.
Slaves. Yeah.
Slaves,
Well,
yeah, because we are now slaves to the system, to the economical system, to the political, everything. We're really becoming slaves right now.
we have. Now, we are over time, and that was well said, Gerald. We definitely have to do this again to at least try to wake the world up. Everybody, please check out probablefuture.com, and this will be up on YouTube shortly for you guys, anybody who missed
Can
any
I say
part
one more
of it.
thing?
Absolutely.
Please read the testimonials. There's a lot of testimonials covering a large range of applications of people that have experienced things from improving the day-to-day finances and health to having experiences with the one, or having experiences that are very unusual, and just having a jump in consciousness, if you call it another quantum jump. And I really think that they should read this, because it will give them more faith into what they're doing. There is nothing connected to any religious system in the course. You can continue whatever beliefs you have. It does not negate anything, but it brings you to the core of every single teaching, the spiritual teaching, the core of it, which is that there was one God that created everything, and he's still one God, and he hasn't changed, and he's eternal. He was never born and never dies, and so will you if you rejoin him.
Well said. If I had more time, people, I'd plug in my websites or all the social media. All I have to say is what I normally say. Remember, folks, the only thing about this show you have to remember is the name of it, Dr. J Radio Live. That is DRJ Radio Live. drjradiolive.com is the website. Every single social media is at DRJ Radio Live. Those of you out there who I usually have time to think, I want to thank you as a collective whole, because we have gone over time. So with that being said, folks, this is Dr. J, and I am officially signing off.